This Cloud In-Depth program is sponsored by Maximus. Welcome to the latest program in a new series from FedGov Today, Cloud In-Depth. I'm the host of FedGov Today, Francis Rose. Federal government agencies are 13 years into their cloud-first journeys as laid out by the Office of Management and Budget. The 2018 Cloud Smart update to that strategy gave agencies more latitude to account for changes in computing capabilities and security requirements. Now, agencies are using a variety of cloud applications and infrastructures. On this program, you'll go in-depth with movers from government and industry that are leading cloud efforts. Experts from the Central Intelligence Agency, Customs and Border Protection, and Maximus are here to discuss what they're doing in the cloud now, what it means, and what's ahead for cloud and for government-industry collaboration. First, I welcome Neil Kronimus. He's Senior Vice President of Technology Strategy and Solutions at Maximus. Neil, welcome. It's great to see you again. You wrote recently about the Platform One marketplace that the Air Force is undertaking. What do you like about what they're doing in citing that as a good example of cloud use in government today?
Yeah, so the Air Force Platform One team has actually taken an evolutionary step on how they procure cloud services. Before, they did the traditional, just RFP, generation response and stuff, but now they're introduced the marketplace. And what they've done is they've challenged industry is tell us what we have our problems, tell us how you can solve it. And they're doing it in a non-traditional way. It's through videos. The industry shoots a 5-minute video on a service that matches their needs. Then they take it, vet it, and if it's deemed worthy, they add it to the marketplace where anybody of that Platform One customers can use. So that's what's beauty is they're helping shrink the procurement time and getting services to their customers faster.
All of the leaders that I talk to, especially the uniform leaders in DOD, whenever you say, what do you need? And they say speed. And so it strikes me that you made a couple of mentions there at the fact that Platform One helps the Air Force get to a solution much faster.
Yes, definitely. Because, you think about it, it always takes time. You got to develop the software. You have that. They've developed a great platform over the years. They've been recognized as a leader in DevSecOps with their software factory. Now they've moved it to the procurement cycle to help their customers get to their services faster, which in turn helps their customers get to succeed their missions faster.
Right behind speed is security. What are the potential implications of a platform like that, security-wise, and what do you think people should be thinking about if they want to emulate something that the Air Force did?
So the biggest thing with this that we've still yet to see is how are we going to make sure that the offerings the users, the industry is providing is secure, is meeting the compliance needs, is it coming from a reputable partner of theirs and stuff. So it's still got to go through that proper vetting process. It's still got to go through security. It's got to make sure the data privacy in that service is going to be kept and everything. So there's a lot of vetting that's got to go on before it can make it into the marketplace.
What are the elements that you see in something like Platform One, and the other services are attempting it too, that could apply for an organization that is saying the same thing as you're suggesting? We've got to break out of the mold that we're using now. We have to try something different. We need solutions faster. What lessons can they take and apply, and what are maybe some things that you've seen that are unique to the Air Force that wouldn't necessarily work well in some other organization?
Well, the biggest thing is just the marketplace in general. We've never seen a marketplace like that. Yes, we've seen FedRAMP and their marketplace, but this is a little bit different. It's still the traditional model on the FedRAMP. They're evolving, they're coming along, which is working, but they're going forward. Now, other agencies, this might not work for them because maybe they have other compliance regulations that doesn't apply as well as it does in the Air Force. But in general, this model has the potential to really accelerate the procurement of services and applications to succeed and fulfill the mission.
I mentioned industry-government collaboration at the beginning of this program. How does this facilitate that kind of collaboration, and what is the implication for those relationships in a marketplace like this?
What's really nice is the government, Air Force in this case, is telling us what their needs are. They're telling them what their shortfalls are and what they need. So now industry can take a look at that. We can have dialogues with them and stuff, and then make sure that the offerings that industry is putting forward are the right ones to meet the needs that listed.
And it strikes me that helps in the speed department, because you don't have a long list of requirements that you have to check off in order to be able to even bid on the job in the first place. You're able to go right to the mission need of the service.
Yes, definitely. Because if you think of a traditional procurement, we got to have a technical solution, a management plan, the cost, pricing, all that. A lot of that stuff gets narrowed in scope, so we can focus on just that one service and not worry about the bigger picture. And then that one service checks that box.
Any unintended consequences that you think that organizations in government should at least be thinking about, maybe not wary of, but should have on their minds as they proceed with an idea like this?
The biggest thing is going to be around data privacy, data security, because the lifeblood of any agency is the data, because that's what enables them to make decisions moving forward. And if that service that's being offered is not secure, that's what I'm worried about. I'm also worried about, is there a supply chain issue somehow in this or whatever for that service? So you have to make sure that that's taken care of. And then how are you going to monitor it? This is a service that's going to go into a government agency. How are you going to monitor and continuously monitor that to make sure it's safe from threats?
All right, Neil, you stay right there. We'll take a quick break, and you will meet leaders from Customs and Border Protection and the CIA when Cloud in Depth continues in a moment. If you want insights from agency and industry leaders on the latest topics in technology, management, workforce, defense, and acquisition, sign up for the FedGov Today podcast with me, Francis Rose. I release new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, so you'll stay up to date on the issues that matter most to federal government leaders. Listen at fedgovtoday.com and everywhere you get your shows. Don't miss out on the conversation. Follow the podcast today. Welcome back to Cloud in Depth. Two of the agencies who have made a huge commitment to the cloud are the Central Intelligence Agency and Customs and Border Protection. Cloud leaders from those agencies join me and Neil Kronimus now. Mark James is Executive Director for the Enterprise Cloud Services Division at CBP. Larry Taxon is Chief of CLOUDworks in the Directorate of Digital Innovation at CIA. Gentlemen, welcome. Larry, I'll start with you.
Thank you.
What has your journey to the cloud looked like from a pretty broad strategic level?
Wow, it's been a long journey, but a fun journey, I would say, for the IC. Began back in 2013 with our award of commercial cloud services, which at the time, the way I look at it, was one of the biggest innovative things we did as an organization, because it partnered us with the leader in commercial cloud at the time, Amazon Web Services, to bring their capabilities into our classified environments. Nobody had done really something like that before, where we're actually just taking what they do today commercially and bring it up into the classified region. And then from there, over the next several years, it just took off. Now, it was challenging in the beginning because people didn't get cloud. We had a lot of questions on, was this Amazon Prime that was coming to the IC or something else? But as we continued to educate mission partners and show them the value of cloud, we reached a point where I truly believe that the intelligence community were the leaders in cloud adoption and migration in federal government. And we were doing great, but we felt that we could do more. And so back in 2020, we awarded Commercial Cloud Enterprise contract, which gave us access now to even more cutting edge technologies from a variety of different vendors, to include Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, Google, and Oracle. So we are now sort of back to square one, learning about all these new clouds. But when we talk about, the capabilities that they have and what the strengths are from each of these providers, to me, I'm overly excited about this, because there's more that we can do to support mission with a lot of these capabilities. And especially as we start looking at globally what we want to do, we're excited about that.
I remember when you first announced that 2013 contract that you talked about, you still had a lot of folks, even in the IC at that time, that thought, this is not an appropriate use of the cloud. We shouldn't do that here. How did you get around that, and then how did you continue to demonstrate value, and how important was that to demonstrate, yes, this is a great place to use cloud, and here's why?
No, you know, I think it's a couple of different pillars that we landed on. The first is trust in cloud. You know, you had said earlier about the data. You know, it all comes back to the data and where we sit. And for us, you know, we needed to protect our data, ensure that it was secure. So we deliberately looked at government assessment, right? Government assessment works. You know, so our team back at CAA and CLOUDworks, right, we are responsible for assessing these cloud service providers as they come on. But we had to bring counterintelligence along. We had to bring the larger security apparatus, but we had to bring our data owners along with us on this journey. And through a lot of different venues, education and everything, we got them to believe and understand that cloud is actually secure. In fact, it's probably more secure than maybe the server sitting under their desk that's running Windows 95 still, right? You know, so there was a lot of things we did there to really get that buy-in. The other part that I thought we did really well was another pillar that we call facilitate adoption. You know, just because you build it, it doesn't mean they're going to come unless you show them how. And so we really doubled down on like business operations. How can we get out there into the mission spaces and educate them on how to use the cloud? We played Mythbusters a lot, you know, where teams would come in and say, no, we can't go to cloud for one reason or another. And we would go in and explain, no, you can, right? Now, trust me, there are definitely specific use cases, whether it's due to data sensitivity, maybe it's latency, cost, where cloud might not be appropriate at this time. But don't initially naysay it, right? And that has been our job, is to go out there and be that evangelist for cloud. So we partner really close with the cloud service providers, but we also need to partner with mission. And actually today I came from an event we just hosted called Cloud Talks, where we do this every 6 months. We bring mission partners in, we talk about challenges, and we have all of our commercial providers there. So the more we can continue to educate, we're going to get people on this journey with us.
I want to come back to that infrastructure idea. Mark, welcome. It's great to see you again. The last time you and I talked, we talked about the kind of the broad journey. What were some of the steps individually that you've taken to get to where you are with the cloud today? I know that cloud is a really important part of the IT strategy overall at CBP.
Yeah, so I mean, similar to Neil's journey, we had we aligned to the Federal Data Center Consolidation Initiative and Cloud First, Cloud Smart, consolidating down from multiple data centers into one. So our government environment, we were already moving toward collapsing and consolidating, and that was kind of a easier migration in, because we already were utilizing managed services and legacy data centers offered by the department. But as we evolved past that consolidation, then we started looking into solutions such as cloud. We initially started off with email, things like Microsoft and some of the other hosting services. We had the same challenges. Is it FedRAMP? Is it is it a safe environment? And we kind of moved in strategically and by setting up a center of excellence within the organization, and also leaning in on industry to help us like how we were going to move to that journey. Now the current journey is after consolidating into one data center, then we move forward into moving in cloud and utilizing things such as software as a service platforms. We were initially a infrastructure and platform as service environment. Educating our workforce was it was collaborative with the organization as we move forward. Both were going hand in hand as one of our key strategies. We aligned to the technology strategic plan that our agency has built and developed, and our cloud policy aligned to that as well. Now we are at a higher number, mid-80s of application level migration in, but 40% of our data. So our challenge has been somewhat in reverse. We moved low-hanging fruit applications in at ease, and then some of the applications that we refactored into cloud, but we still have a large footprint regarding data and legacy data centers, legacy co-location facilities. So that's our next evolution into our final evolution into cloud, if you will, for CBP.
You talked about educating your workforce. Were you educating them on the migration itself, about the benefits, about how to use applications in the cloud, all of those, something that I missed?
All the above. So we start off with our first, how are we going to utilize our current workforce? So that was a strategy in itself. partnering up with University of Maryland and some of the other collegiate activities so that we could change our current resources to cloud smart resources. Second, we stood up a center of excellence at CBP so that the agency understood how we were going to migrate in and what are some of the technologies you want to align to and how you would go from like a infrastructure as code environment. And then the third pillar was our outreach into our mission stakeholders. We have at least 3 or 4 initiatives that align to talking to Border Patrol, speaking with Air and Marines, and then also field operations, and then Joe Public as well. So it was somewhat of a 3-tiered approach to the education. The education was probably the most difficult aspect of the cloud migration, trying to educate our current employees, and also educating some of our SI partners, our system integrator partners as well. That was somewhat of a challenge too, but that hurdle was, we broke that challenge, and here we are today.
Larry?
Just to piggyback, and I like a lot of our stuff aligned together. When we talk about training, I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing, but we did a really great job in the early days of training our developers. We did not do a great job training the ecosystem of people around cloud, which would be your project managers, your legal, your finance officer, our security officers, yes. Right? Security officers didn't understand ephemeral architectures, right? Wait, you're going to spin something up and then spin it back down, and I can't scan it? So that education was big for us, but I wish we would have done it sooner to get more people on board. So I don't know if you all experienced the same
Very
thing.
Similar issues. Our procurement effort was a challenge. We're tailoring some of our new vehicles that are coming out to align to that pay-as-you-go model. It seems very simple, and it makes sense for everybody except for the federal government at times, right? So we've struggled with that a bit, but we're definitely changing. We've done quite a few things on contracts to support that pay-as-you-go model to make it a little bit less difficult in our financial teams.
But that connects directly, Neil, with exactly what you were talking about, the benefit of Platform One in the Air Force in the first part of this program, is that they got the acquisition piece of it put together and connected to the technology piece of it before they rolled it out.
Yes, definitely. So, and like I said before, it's just the next step evolution of how to get to those services faster. And because you have mission partners, like you said, it's about the collaboration, getting them in, but how do you get to those services faster to fulfill whatever their mission is? And having this new vehicle is one way to do it.
Neil, when Larry was talking a few minutes ago about how the cloud could be more secure than the servers under the desks, I caught you nodding very enthusiastically. Why did that resonate with you?
Oh, I love Shadow IT. So because I can't tell you how many times going into different buildings and yep, there's that server down there because why? Well, because I bought it because I needed it for this or for that or whatever. But the nice thing is that can go away. And now you can bring it into the cloud. Now they can track it. They can see what's going on. You can see the utilizations. They can see the costs. When it's sitting under the desk, security doesn't know if it's patched. They don't know if it's vulnerable. They don't know if it's running Windows 95. So it's just when you bring everything in the cloud, you get that visibility, that transparency that you don't get with that server under the desk.
Have you both seen that benefit in at least being able to track your infrastructures and know exactly what's where?
Yes, to piggyback a little bit on what the gentleman was speaking on, Shadow IT is kind of a negative terminology in legacy IT technology. As you spoke of before, a server in some field site, some officer running a mini data center there, but we're also encouraging a lot of citizen development, and the cloud platforms allows our agency to track their initiatives, their SaaS offerings. We're seeing it on, platforms such as, Microsoft and Salesforce and ServiceNow. So we're trying to stop the shadow IT, but we're also trying to encourage shadow IT because the officers and agents and our stakeholders are becoming extremely educated in the IT space, where maybe it was kind of foreign to me as growing up in 70s and 80s. It's a little bit different now for the younger individuals. They are very familiar with developing their own software packages. So there's kind of that fine line between, how do we offer those services, allow for citizen development, and then not have a robust shadow IT environment that is not compliant to the federal government.
Sounds like the challenge is with shadow IT historically has been we just don't know it exists, and we don't, like you alluded to, don't know that it's secure. And as long as you kind of have a handle on it, it sounds like it's something that you're encouraging. Is that a fair read on my part?
Absolutely. I mean, edge computing is, in a sense, shadow IT.
Okay, so that's exactly where I wanted to go next, actually. Because the reason that I wanted both of you on the show is I've talked to a number of DoD leaders, as we talked about in the first part of this program, about edge computing and the need to get the equivalent computing capacity at the very edge of whatever the mission delivery is. You have this all over the country and around the world with CBP. Same thing with you and your colleagues in the IC. What is the implication for edge computing in the way that you're building your clouds, in the applications that you're putting there, and in the way that you think about securing the data that moves from and to through all of that? Larry, you want to take that one first?
This is a big thing, for us, because we are a global organization, both at CIA and our other members within the IC. But how do we do this in a trusted, safe way? The good news is that through our relationships with our cloud service providers, they are offering up a variety of different type of edge solutions. I think what our cloud service providers recognize that there's going to be a need for those capabilities in those maybe expeditionary locations or in other places around the globe where I can't really stick a giant region somewhere else, maybe because of data sensitivity or even data policy and laws, right? Within different countries. So as we as a community, I think one of the things we need to start thinking about more is the concept of adaptive cloud. And what I mean by that is the ability to, what is the right hosting platform for where I am and the data and the things I'm trying to do. It might be a regional-based cloud, system. It might be some type of edge system. It might be something in a backpack. It might be something on a satellite, right? Or maybe it's something in between. And especially as we're looking at pushing services to the edge, I'm surprised we've gone this long and haven't talked about Gen AI. But as we start looking at AI models and training and inference and everything, how do I do that on the edge? Because that's a lot of where our data will reside, is on the edge. I don't want to have to ship all that stuff back to the US, right? How can I do my processing, my analytics and everything at the edge? But do I have the right devices? Do I have the right sort of security posture out there on those devices to do all that heavy work? And so to me, it's exciting, it's nascent, but I think as a community, that's something as we look at adaptive cloud, we are going to look at those partnerships with the CSPs to see how we get there.
Mark, I think I told you when you were on the FedGov Today podcast not too long ago that I thought of you and your boss, Sunny Bagawalia, when I was leaving SeaTac, the airport in Seattle, and I saw the offices as I was leaving the grounds of the airport. I saw the CBP offices, and I thought they've got to have computing power there, and they've got to have computing power in the hands of the agents who are doing whatever their responsibilities are at that airport, every other airport, and so on and so forth. Same question as to Larry. What are the implications for that in the way that you think about cloud infrastructure, in the way that you think about cloud governance, and so on?
I mean, look, number one priority for CBP and CBP mission is availability to devices out in the field. And you see it at Southwest border, Northern border, some of the regions around the world, on CONUS and off. But cloud is also, how's your network running? I mean, are you going to use some of the newer satellite technologies for connectivity? Do you need to ship the data, as the gentleman brought up earlier, all the way back to a cloud provider, or can you do those computations at the edge? And creating that security layer, that boundary out to the actual field itself is probably one of our higher strategies. We have a edge computing strategy that we developed at CBP, which kind of addresses some of these challenges. We thought that cloud would be able to be almost anywhere where we were, but there's a similar to a data center, they're just not there as well. So we're leaning into not only to all the CSPs, we're using it as a collaborative, one unified CSP by using all the cloud providers for availability across the country and around the world. We're also leaning in on some of our co-location support facilities to have that type of edge technology, edge compute out there in support of our applications for CBP.
Neil, does cloud at the edge look the same, work the same? Is the technology and technique the same for the IC and for Homeland Security as it is for an organization like DoD? Does the mission matter, or is it more just the fact that someone's located in some remote location that really matters?
No, the mission does matter. It definitely does, because the services, the data is going to be different. And really the mission's different because the data is important for that decision making. They got to make that decision fast wherever they're at. They can't afford, like you said, pull it all the way back to process it. By then, the events happened. So it's important about those services and that data, because the data is different. And then the other thing is there's costs associated with it. If I'm going to ship all that data back, I got costs of shipping it back. So you don't want to ship everything back. You want to just the relevant stuff, but you got to make that decision instantaneous. Whether you're on the border, the airport, anywhere in the world, you got to have that technology there with the right technology and the right services at the right time.
Neil, at the beginning of this program, I referenced Cloud First and Cloud Smart, and one of the things that I've seen, and you gentlemen can correct me if I'm wrong, but over the time, the last 14 years or so, that those policies have existed and the cloud has become really prominent in use in the federal government, people have thought differently, and that thought process about infrastructure in particular has evolved. We now have multi-clouds, we have hybrid clouds, there are a number of different things. If, as you say, different data means different uses, does it also mean different infrastructures?
So the answer is yes. I mean, you've heard already that they're using all the 5 major CSPs today, and they're utilizing them, the right services that each of those cloud providers bring, because what it does, it helps them get to their decision faster. So yes, it's going to look differently. It's going to evolve. It's got to keep evolving. You mentioned Gen AI. Think of Gen AI. Gen AI is huge processing power for a cloud provider. It's more than anything else we've ever seen. And guess what? It comes at a heftier price tag. So you got to be smart with the way you use it, and you got to use the right cloud provider that gives you the best value for your money.
All right, we're about to run out of time, so quick thought, and then I'm going to get a lightning round from each of you to wrap up.
I was just going to say, to piggyback on that, and I think you hit it right too, as we look at multiple cloud and multi-cloud, as we pull those together, right, how they're connected is going to become really important to us as well. It's one thing to connect to one cloud, but if we really wanted to get to a multi-cloud environment where you're synced between the clouds, we as a community will have to look at our networking, right, and how we connect things together. So that's another area of opportunity that I'd like to see.
All right, quick final thought. What's over the horizon? I'm going to guess you're going to say Gen AI. Is that right?
Gen AI.
All right. What's over the horizon for you? 1 or 2 words.
AI in general, and it's just an exercise in data.
For you?
It's Gen AI. It's how AI is going to be used.
What do you see as the best things that these two guys can do to prepare themselves well for that?
The problem is understand the regulations. The regulations are changing around AI. Some don't even exist. Different states are doing things, so you need to understand where it's going. Collaborate with the CSPs and stuff of how they're utilizing it.
Neil, Mark, Larry, it's great to have you all on the program. Thanks very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me for Cloud In Depth, sponsored by Maximus. If you missed any part of this program, you can watch the show in its entirety on our website at fedgovtoday.com or the FedGov Today YouTube channel. Don't miss FedGov Today TV every Sunday morning at 10:30 on ABC 7 in the DC area or on the YouTube channel. I'm Francis Rose. Thanks very much for watching. Good night.